Welcome to our budget meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Paulette Frias.
Here.
Judy Fouché.
Here.
John Crean.
Here.
Scott Latham.
Here.
Brian Tobin. In the event of an emergency, visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building and do not attempt to leave in your automobiles, as this might cause traffic problems and block incoming emergency.
I'm going to invite the board to move around to the other side of the table.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure tonight to help present. Tonight we do the administration presentation, where basically we're going to go into detail by all our major departments to kind of go through the, again, their part of the budget. As you recall, last week we went through the revenue side of the budget, went into detail. At the end of this presentation, I have a slide on the expenditure, grouping by some major categories, and we'll go through some of the final numbers on the last slide again. But again, to start it off, we're going to have Mr. Dragone. He has a couple slides to discuss maintenance facilities.
What do I have to hit?
Just that forward button when you're done. I think you have 2 slides.
I know. Trust me, I'll probably do it. Good evening. So the facility budget is, it is going up this year, 4.67% from last year. But as we were sort of informally discussing earlier, a lot of it is the material costs, the equipment, supplies, and of course the utility costs have gone up. But basically, my budget is going up for the cost to buy equipment, supplies. Chuck and I can look at that. Sure. We, it's. Because of COVID, in the very first, like our utility costs were hard to, usually take like a 5-year average, right? But because of COVID, the 1 year they went really down because we had no kids in the building, nobody was here, so, it's, but we bumped it up because of, well, hopefully, we'll have to take a look at that and make sure, but, yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And, should we be looking at those lines a little bit more?
The good thing is that we don't use a lot of fuel oil. We have to switch over when National Grid tells us to switch, and that's only switching over in the elementary school. We don't switch over in the high school. So, but there are times like I'm due to purchase oil right now. For the elementary, just to replenish what we've been using. And it's not going to go very far. I probably could use 7,000, 8,000 gallons worth of, probably about 7,000 gallons worth of fuel, and I'll probably wind up buying about maybe 2,000 to 3,000.
How big are the tanks?
10,000 gallons.
Just one?
Yes, one in the elementary and one out at the high school.
So 2 10,000 can, one here and one
Yeah.
What about like the electricity costs?
Right, exactly. Sure.
They're going up significantly as well.
Absolutely.
So do we have
Well, we've bumped it up, but in light of recent events, we'll take a look at it.
I just think it's something we have to do.
Now, school districts are on their own buying this. It's not like you can get all the Suffolk school districts together and say, we're going to buy all our fuel oil from whoever gives us the best price.
No, well, fuel oil, there is a vendor on contract. It's called Metro Fuel. They're rather large, and their numbers are, quite a bit less than what you would pay at home, which is good, because they are.
It's actually done as a state. There are state, for you to get the state bid.
Well, they're actually on a BOCES bid, but it's just, same, they're on a, but
So it's
there's,
already been done to a certain.
yes,
These
yes,
people have a contract with the state.
Yeah.
And they're gonna give you a better price because
Correct.
they're gonna have a.
yeah, they got, every school district is basically going to,
And you can come here and drop off, let's just say 10,000
Right.
with one trip.
Yep.
If that's what we want, rather than going to 15 people's houses.
exactly. Although, they did buy the local guy in Greenport out, so they're even getting into residential.
Everybody likes a monopoly.
Yeah. But, no, however their contract is structured, you get to see, you can look online and see how much it is a gallon for your area, for your amount of gallons that you purchase, Well, I probably could, if we have a cold snap, I don't know when we get this, I don't dictate when we switch over, National Grid does. Sometimes I switch over for 5 hours, sometimes I switch over for 5 days. So I have to make sure that I don't run out,
That depends on the temperature, right?
It's all temperature driven, yeah. So one of the things that there's an Interfund transfer that Chuck can explain about the funds if you have any questions. But we try to do some projects with the Interfund transfer. This year, we're going to be looking to the gymnasiums, both the elementary and the high school scoreboards. We have bulbs that are out, and these bulbs are super pricey now because it's old. They don't really make them anymore. They almost have to be handmade, retrofitted. So it's actually cheaper for us to buy new scoreboards than to keep paying for when these bulbs go out. What's that? Yeah, it'll be a different scoreboard. Yeah, these scoreboards are old.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be something similar to that's outside.
Okay, so it's digital.
Digital, yeah.
It's not like.
No, it should, no. Well, I'm assuming we're going to go digital. I mean, we'll have to look at the cost, but even if it's not, it'll be a more cost-effective option. And in the elementary school, we'd like to switch over those ceiling lights to the LEDs like we did in the high school. Certainly would help save on utility costs there. And I do have some flooring issues. I have some ceiling tiles, floor tiles that are popping. They just keep popping up, and it's 20-something years old, and so I got to see how much we can do at one time. Probably could, sure. Yeah.
Well, certainly the flooring, that's a
Yep.
liability.
There's a couple of areas, some of the smaller areas, if I can do it in a budget with the Interfund transfer, it might be better to save the repair for someone like a bigger cost. But we have the rear vestibule. When you come in the front door, you go, and then if you're going to go right back outside, that back. Yeah, that tile there has to get replaced. That's in pretty bad shape, and like I said, we have a big project that might need the repair reserve, and that's the flooring for the cafeteria in the elementary school. So that's probably repair reserve worthy. Okay, I think that's it for me. Yes. If anybody has any questions, and I want to thank you all first of all for approving that roof emergency repair for the gymnasium roof. We're going to, hopefully the winds in the next week or so won't be so bad, but knock on wood, we've been fortunate. I'm sorry? Well, they loaded the roof with material yesterday, but they just kept manpower-wise and work schedule, they can't get here for like another week and a half.
We were about 3 weeks or 4 weeks out, and then someone canceled. So their material is actually, the parts of it that fit our job are all sitting on our roof now, and that's
Which actually helps, because now we have a lot of weight on the roof, or more weight on the roof, in case the wind hits, it'll be a little better situation.
which is great. That's good. Yeah. When you order material now, I mean, we're still waiting for your skid steer.
Oh, no, we just got it last week.
Okay, so we ordered it in July, it came last week, the skid steer.
Yeah, we bought a new skid steer for maintenance, you know, for the field, not the fields, but for the grounds. Just came in last week. All right, any questions, anything? No? All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Mr. Rush. He's going to discuss the programs and budget for the secondary.
Thank you, Mr. Scheid. So our first bullet there, I was thinking about it this evening. We have the majority of our budget lines remain flat. Second bullet, all programs and offerings are maintained. I should have included that we were able to reallocate funds that we had budgeted for to offer 2 brand new clubs this school year. We polled our students, they voted on them, and we were able to offer a chess club and also an international club, which have been very well attended by students, and that was all within our current budget for this school year. So we do have a couple of increases this year for our programs. Our technology repairs, we added about $3,000 to our service equipment. We have our phenomenal new technology shop that our students love and use, and you've seen the furniture and whatnot around the district. We have some pretty expensive machinery there, our CNC machine being one of them. So we wanted to add some funds to that repair line because that way we could budget for a service contract if anything happens to it. We use it for our robotics, we use it for our classes. With that much use, we want to make sure that we're able to repair it as we need to. There's no dumb questions.
Spoken like a true I don't want to throw Anthony under the bus, but why wouldn't that be in Anthony's budget? Why is that in your budget? Repairs
What is the repairs, I'm sorry?
So it specifically, our guys can't repair the CNC laser machine. Laguna has to come in and do it.
They also don't use it.
I have that.
I don't have that.
Don't like it or what? So the machines that Terrence is talking about.
Right, I know where it is, it's in the tech lab.
But when they're used by the kids, and they're used in, you know, in our classes, they're not used by our facilities guys.
Okay.
And that
So I guess for educational versus maintenance purposes, right?
versus, maintenance.
So that'll be an ongoing increase that we have over the course of the years to maintain the equipment. Now we're going to move into also our district equipment, or our 7 through 12 equipment line that we have through my office. So the first one there is our living environment lab equipment. We have a phenomenal new living environment teacher, Ms. Pinizzo. So with her coming to the district, as well as our next gen learning standards that we're adopting across the board, we wanted to offer many more hands-on lab experiences that were up to date and aligned with the new standards. Also, for our science classroom furniture, chemistry, our numbers have been booming. We're going to shift from our traditional classroom desks that we have in there to the lab, chem lab tables and stools, which allows much more lab space for the students to work either in pairs or individually when they're doing their chemistry experiments. And what's also great is that the desks in that room are relatively new. We can use those desks in another location where we're phasing out the older wooden desks. And then finally, also our virtual enterprise classroom, also our English 12 classroom. It's up in the old computer lab. So we're going to be removing the computers that are around there. They're outdated. They haven't been used in quite some time since we also have a one-to-one device initiative now. And we have half the furniture of the moving tables. They're kind of like wedges and red chairs. We're going to finish that out now from 14 to 28 for a full class size. Also our virtual enterprise, a little plug, made nationals for the first time in VE history here. So they're going to be going to Brooklyn, which is excellent. So my overall increase is an 8.96%, which sounds a lot, but it's $26,000 total. And of that $26,000, it's about, I'd say 20 is a one-time shot. That's not going to be something that's carried over year to year. And Dr. Moore had asked that I include, speaking of increases, our graduation rate. So going back 4 years, we were at about 89% in 2017 to 2018. And then we very happily increased over the last 3 years from 85 to 87, and last year's cohort was at 92%. When the district's grad rates are posted in, say, Newsday or whatnot, there's really two different numbers that you see. One is for the district as a whole, and that will include any students that are placed in out-of-district placements. The one that speaks to specifically our educational programs here is specifically Southold Junior Senior High School. So our district-wide was 91%, but our building was 92%. Any questions? All right.
How does that graduation rate compare with surrounding districts? Do you have any idea? Just curious.
Did Terrence ask you to ask that?
It's funny you should mention that, Dr. Korean.
But we're always, I mean, obviously the districts are different.
Yes.
But we always compare ourselves to our neighbors. And then I guess Pearson is one, which is sort of our size, and East End.
As reported right now, our graduation rate is higher than Greenport, Mattituck, Riverhead, Southampton, and the other ones also. I should have memorized it. Pearson, I want to say possibly.
Now, also-
Shelter was higher than us, but
Also, just a couple of students, just a couple of students can make a noticeable difference because our class sizes are so small.
because our class sizes are so small, a few students do make a big difference. For us,
I wonder, no offense, are these really statistically different numbers? If you had a stats guy run them,
right,
with all that confidence intervals, and years ago we talked p-values, or are these pretty much the same?
I would, to be honest with you, the class sizes for these last 4 years have been relatively close. What typically happens for us in our graduation rate is we'll have students that enter the district from other countries with formal interruption in their academics. So they might join that cohort, however, they might leave the district or not return to school, or they enroll and there's no possible chance they can graduate in 4 years, or 2 years, or 3 years.
Thousands of kids.
Yes.
These numbers really have meaning. It's
I
tough.
mean, for me, it comes down to, there's 67 kids in district, how many are graduating?
Yes,
It comes to really, for our size, it's a flat number.
absolutely.
65, and why is it 65, and did we do everything we could for the other two?
And we're lucky where we can tell you exactly who the kids are, what they need, and
Right,
it's
exactly.
great.
That's really the big thing, is did we do
Everything we can.
for the other two, or whatever that number is that did not.
Yeah.
Good news.
Good news. All right, thank you, everyone.
89, that's it. $50.
Pearson was 89%, so we're higher than them too. In case you're wondering.
Pearson is 89%.
Oh, is that right?
They want to.
How'd you find that? You got that fast?
Newsday.
Okay, next up,
Excuse me. Take over the word.
next we have Ms. O'Neill to discuss the elementary budget.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I don't have much to share. We pretty much remained relatively flat at the elementary. Our textbook budgets, some of them have gone down. We adopted a new math series, Go Math, for this current year. So we had budgeted more in order to do that, but the recurring costs are not as much as the first year. Everything else is being maintained, nothing is going down, but I do have a decrease of 1.98%.
Is this based on the same number of classes?
As this current year, yes. Yeah, same number of classes. So kindergarten registration is in March, so we should know more.
Currently 2 classes.
Currently 2, yes. But our UPK is higher than it has been, and I hear Head Start is higher than it has been, so I'm,
It's Buffalo's time.
yeah, I'm ready for the bubble.
Yeah, because you could theoretically get to 3, do we have contingency for a third if we need it?
Yeah, we're prepared for 3 kindergarten right now.
Good. Think it's gonna happen?
Positive thing.
Next school, we could tell you guys how many kids are going to be here.
Yep,
That 4-year-old that we could take care of was a lot.
yeah.
We're hearing that the kindergarten numbers are definitely up. I can tell you that I looked back historically, our UPK provider dropped us because we couldn't really fill enough spots for them. This year, we started with 38 kids in UPK here because we had different grant funding than we had in the past, so we didn't have to cut it at the 18 number. And like Ellen said, the outside groups are telling us that their numbers are pretty strong also.
I'd have to double check. Marlene did share, and I think her numbers are around 40 already, or a little over 40, which is with like just UPK, Head Start, kids we know that are supposed to come, and that doesn't count kids who are in other preschools or haven't gone to preschool or
Yeah,
private.
last year, we were like in the low 20s, 23.
Yeah, it was very low, so.
Beginning, at this point in time,
Mhm.
when we just opened up registration, we were in the low 20s. So
Yep.
we're close to 40.
That's a big difference. Why do you
Yeah,
think that?
and we may even be over.
I do think it's cyclical. I saw this,
Still not going to be the numbers.
I saw the bubbles in other places too. Like, drop down, and all of a sudden,
Went back up.
700 kids in kindergarten to 900
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be up to 100 again, Paulette, like close when I started. I don't know if we were more 80s, 90s. I shouldn't say 100, but yeah, it could. It could.
I was just saying, we were up in the 90s, our kids were in high school, and that generation is starting to have children who are bigger.
There's also more flexibility. There's more flexibility in elementary because you can move, it's easier to move people around in elementary than in high school,
Yes.
right? The high
Yep.
school's a lot trickier, right?
Yeah, this is grade levels. Some certifications, for some reason, the state at one point made kindergarten a separate, so I tell everyone I know that goes to school, if you don't have kindergarten, yeah, you had that, it was a separate, it was like two it was ridiculous, but they went back again to it being pretty, yeah,
So you have flexibility.
yes,
You can move people around.
absolutely.
As needed without having to bring in more.
Yes, I don't, because they're certified K to 6, yeah, so that, yeah, we,
Spoke a little bit about that yesterday.
oh, did she?
You know, they asked superintendents annually what issues there are. And one of the ones that almost every superintendent responded, I did on our survey too, was certification. So they're starting with special ed.
Okay.
Because special ed is the most convoluted.
Yeah, it's wacky,
So they're going to
special ed
start
one.
trying to clean up the special ed certifications right now. They already put a task force together. And then they're going to move through all of them. Like elementary needs to be leveled out. They
Yeah.
can't have where,
K to 2, with,
yeah, you can't teach sixth grade.
yeah.
It's just,
They need to do it back in the old days when we got certified. It was, you're certified K to 6, or actually pre-K to 6 it was.
yeah, I do believe that they're going to,
Go back.
take a little time to get to all of them, but I think we're going to straighten some of them out in a way that will make running schools with enrollments changing.
How do they get some of that stuff?
Someone had a brilliant idea.
Yeah, my opinion, it costs about $150 per certification, so, I'm not, I hate to say it, but I don't know if adding all these different certifications creates a scenario where if you want to be fully certified for elementary, you have to hold 3 certs, and middle school another one. So that's 4 payments to the system.
We're good. Any other questions? We're good?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Flanagan to discuss athletics.
Thank you, Chuck. Good evening, everybody. So for the athletic department, the annual coaching salary is increasing by 3.62%. The tuition for combined teams shows an increase of 4.52% and an overall budget increase of 2.94%. Dr. Moore wanted me to share our participation rates. I'm happy to report that we're at the high school level, we're back pre-pandemic levels. We're projecting about 45% throughout the year this year, which is pretty matched up where we've been trending on an uptick. So hopefully next year we'll get another flow coming through. So.
Is the increase in salary just a contractual?
Typically contractual. I've also had to double up, like in all middle school sports, we put 2 coaches, because when they're doing the scheduling matrix, it's always easy to pull out a coach than to add a team. So just put it in there. It's not necessarily we're going to use it, but so far this year, all of our teams that we've had 2, we've filled it. So we're just anticipating. Yeah.
Pretty much what is causing the whole overall budget increases, coaching salaries?
I'd say the majority of it too, but also with the combined teams, a lot of, like football, for instance, a lot of more Southold kids now are participating in football. So it's almost like a prorated cost between the 3 districts, so our costs is naturally increase.
And softball.
Yeah, and softball as well.
We actually have a lot more kids participating in sports, and that's why the increase in our combined.
Wrestling, we're increasing. Lacrosse is leveling out, but we are having other sports where it's increasing. Field hockey. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, next we have Dr. Simonetti to discuss pupil personnel services.
Hello, everyone. I don't have a whole lot to share also. I think I say every year, just so you know, the The departments that I oversee and manage the budgets for are district-wide special education, teachers and staff, school psychologists, school social workers, the health offices, which includes the nurses and the health aides, our ENL department, English as a new language district-wide, and our guidance department. One of the biggest drivers in all of these budgets combined is our out-of-district students. As you know, in the past, just in the last 5 years or so, we've had a good number of students in out-of-district programs. I'm happy to report that we do not have any students who will be in out-of-district programs next year, unless, of course, we have someone move into the district or something changes mid-year, but all of our students have either returned or graduated, which is a really great thing. So overall, there is a decrease in my budget of over 10%. And like I said, a big reason for this reduction is the reduction in out-of-district placements. Our focus for the new year will be to revamp and rename our guidance office to a college and career counseling suite. We want to make it more welcoming, inviting. Not sure if you're aware, but that's where registration occurs in this building for our secondary students. And so for many of our families, for the first time, upon entering the district, their first stop is the guidance office. And so the way it's set up now is it's less than inviting. It's, as Dr. Moore would say, it kind of looks like grandma's old living room in there. And so we definitely want to make it a more welcoming, inviting space for our students and families, especially because it's one of the first places they visit when they come to our school district. And we have some ideas for flexible seating, for some organization and stations in the guidance office, some new furniture, and new technology. That's all built into my budget. Even with the decrease, that's all built into the budget. No questions for me?
Well, I love a 10% decrease.
I know.
And we spoke at our meeting last week about the surplus from the COVID bill. My big concern right now, though, is that we have enough to support the kids that spent 2 years in masks for speech development, especially the Hispanic kids who, might have been learning English at home or suddenly in masks. So, I can't tell you what to do, but I just want to make sure that we have enough in there, because I imagine that the number of kids that would need support or remedial help or whatever is going to start to reveal itself over the next several months. So,
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we did, I think it was the beginning of last year, is we had 2.5 speech language therapists in the district. Now we have 3 full-time. So that's helped considerably in being able to support our students who need additional services, not just mandated services, but also building level services. So we're able to remediate a lot of issues that we're dealing with prior to even getting to special ed. And we've developed a new response to intervention program that was actually the idea of the part-time therapist who became full-time. So she's been a wonderful addition, and that's really helped out a lot. One of the other things that's going to be resuming very soon is we have migrant services offered to us through BOCES, and that had been put on pause for a while because of the pandemic. That will be resuming again, and it's basically a teacher or teacher aide who comes in and provides specific services to our ENL students. So it's supplemental services on top of the support that we already provide. And we do have discretionary funds in my budget, despite the decrease. We do have discretionary money in there for additional support, professional development for our staff to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students, additional evaluations that we may have to do that are bilingual. So we definitely have the funds available to support our ENL, our special ed students, and any of our other students who are identified. One of the great things that we started doing this year is using iReady as a universal benchmarking tool. So we're able to use this information and identify our students much earlier. We have a good deal of funds allocated to supporting the students who are identified earlier.
some of this just luck? I'm just curious, you know? You could
It's
get-
my magic, Dr.
No,
Cooney.
listen, I think you do a great job. I
Thank
really
you.
do. But some of this, you know, you can be unlucky and just get someone with extraordinarily high needs moving to the
Sure,
district.
absolutely. Like Dr. Morris said before, I think sometimes it's kind of cyclical. You know, you tend to see it come in waves. Like, you know, 5 years ago, I was presenting to you guys that I had like 6 students in out-of-district placements, you know? And, you know, in the face of the pandemic now, post-pandemic, you know, there are concerns, of course, with mental health needs, not just in Southold, across the island, across the country. But we've been fortunate that we have been able to provide a high level of support to our students. We have our North Fork Coalition for Behavioral Health that's been really supportive for our students on the outside. So with that supplemental support, in addition to what we do in school, but it could, you know, I do think there is an element of,
A little.
sure, it comes in waves, absolutely.
Let me ask you this, the communication obviously is important. So
Mm-hmm.
if these people trust you that their kids are going to get what they need here, there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be less chance of them, because I remember when I first got on the board, there were problems with that. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was the family may not have trusted the people they were interacting with, for
Sure.
their children to get
Yeah,
what they needed.
right.
I agree, I think now.
You guys,
We have an
you
out-of-district-
dealt with it more than I
Right,
did.
and
You
I
guys-
think now if it's an out-of-district placement, it's because the school and the educators are the ones who are recognizing and recommending it, not because the kids are getting.
And typically in those,
That's, I think.
yeah, and I would say, I mean, we do a great job of really, you know, supporting our students academically and psychologically. In the cases where they've been placed in out-of-district programs, there have been significant psychiatric needs. In a lot of cases, there might be substance abuse or, you know, abuse in the home, you know, really traumatic situations in their home environment. But yeah, you know, I'm going to my 8th year here now, and, you know, I've definitely developed relationships with all the families. There's a good amount of trust. Families really trust me. And, you know, there's a lot of communication, and, you know, parents know, I always try to convey this to them, that, you know, an out-of-district placement is our last resort, always. We always want our students to remain in our district and have the opportunities that we have here for them, because we have an abundance of them. It's always a last resort. And again, it's when things are pretty significant, not just in the school environment, but also at home as well, that they require a residential or out-of-district placement.
I did ask Dr. Morrow whether or not there was still contingency in this particular part of the budget.
Yes.
We did have those things.
Sure.
And there are.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
Contingencies, that even with out-of-district students this year, we still had to have contingencies because.
Sure.
I think, John, the answer to your question is, some of it is luck. You know, I had a $1 million student move into my district 2 weeks before we started school.
Right.
There. And then some of it is trust. You know, and it's even more than trust. It's creating some of the things that we put in place for students. I've not seen before, because I was in a district that had such a large number of services. You didn't have to hand tailor IEPs. You know, here, to provide kids with the right services, they hand tailor IEPs. And that has developed relationships. And I do believe, not knowing what you guys went through in the past, I believe that you know, Dr. Simonetti's office creates a level of trust where we have kids that parents may have been asking for out of district in the past. that don't now.
At the end of the day, communication.
Yeah.
And in any area.
Right. And I don't even want to put out there in the universe, because I'm afraid what it will bring back, but, I mean, we don't have contentious CSEs at all anymore. I haven't had advocates or lawyers come to meetings in quite some time, thankfully. And again, I think it's all about communication and trust, and the level of support that we have here in Southold is K through 12 is amazing. And we're very fortunate, and parents trust that as well. They trust our school system, not just me, and our teachers and our staff. So, you know, I think all of these pieces together have created a situation where, you know, we make every effort possible to educate our students within our buildings, and we do a really good job of that. And I think it's important to note, too, that the students who have gone to out-of-district programs, like and I've shared this before, the recommendations have been very appropriate. The students stay in those programs and they either, return to Southold and they're successful here, or they go on to graduate and then they go on to some other post-secondary work or, a trade school or college or whatever. But they're successful in the programs that we place them in and they go on to bigger and better things. So that's it. Anything else? No? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Mr. Case with technology.
Hi. So the technology budget this year, very insignificant increase, 0.22%, under 1%. It maintains all of our programs, including the 200 Chromebooks that we cycle in every year. We have about 1,000 that are out there. So that is every 5 years we have that cycling at this point. The budget also includes replacing our smart boards. We're replacing another 21. We did 22 last year in the fall, summer and fall, and then we'll be doing another 21 in the summer. And that includes a new technology in the classrooms, including the computers. So pretty straightforward. Everything's maintained. The classroom computer runs the smart board. So the Chromebook is on their desk and they can use that. The classroom computer is for the teacher and it runs the smart board and the processing on videos and stuff like that.
At one point, I know that kindergartners had iPads.
Yeah, we switched. Yep. We still have the iPads that they can use, but every student now has a Chromebook. The kindergarten ones are touch. Yeah, they're touch screen. So they're very similar to an iPad, but they're a Chromebook, yeah. Yep.
We're moving away, we're not replacing iPads for those Chromebooks.
We're going to keep them as a resource that they can use, but the Chromebooks are really are becoming, the mix between the two. So.
Do we have any Mac computers?
Yes.
Okay, so.
We have them in the Southold TV lab. Those are all Macs.
Okay.
Then we also have a set of 30 that are a resource at the elementary school. Well, it's probably down to 28 now. 28 at the resource in the tech cafe that the teachers can use as classes.
Can any high school student go to Southold TV, to that lab?
I'm not sure. I think.
I guess my question is, do we have any in the library where all students can go?
So we have, we don't have any Macs in the library, but we do have the Southold TV Macs that we also use in our in our classes as
Right.
well. Because of the media editing programs that they run, we do let students go in there if they're doing projects or anything that we would run.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And there's
That was my point.
there's
Kids have, students,
Yep.
especially when they get up to high school, they have the opportunity to
Right.
work and become proficient on both. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
right.
can,
And there are.
go back to not being a Mac user anymore.
Right. I jumped ship from Google and went to Mac a while ago, and I couldn't go back either.
I'm old,
Yeah.
so I don't mind that. But they should be proficient in both, because when they get to college and when they get to their next level, it could be one of the.
Right.
So,
There are MacBooks or Mac devices in the art room as well.
right. Okay.
So.
As long as all students have a place. where
Yep,
they
an
can
opportunity.
access it,
Yep.
that's my concern.
Right. But there are computers in the library. They're just
No, I know.
Chromebooks. Yeah, they're Google machines.
Right.
Yeah.
We could maybe think about putting a couple in there.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's just me.
Well, it's a totally, like, if you're gonna go into the graphic art or
Yeah.
advertising, like that,
Yep.
that's the platform.
You should know both. You should know both, or all three, really. There's three. So, the Chrome.
Oh,
Yeah. So if you know all three, you're gonna, be able to act in any environment.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is that, and because you do work from one workplace to another, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you need to,
Yep.
switch it up, and it can be hard.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, we have one slide, there's a lot of information on this slide. I'm going to try and go into each major budget driver. At the next presentation, April 13th, we'll go into more detail. As I mentioned, we already went through the revenue side of it, so you can see the first line, salaries, basically a modest 1.92% increase. At the end of last year, we had several teacher retirements that was unknown, unplanned for, so the budget in salaries is actually much lower than, I'll say, based on contractual raises. And again, just lucky and helpful, you know, from budget to a budget point of view. Benefits we talked about also a little bit last time. We have health insurance. Initially, health insurance was going up 4.7%. Now it's going down to projected at 4%. So we actually lowered the budget a little bit for health. And our overall, we do have a couple of, in the health insurance line, room for people. Sometimes there's individuals who go from single to family. So we do budget actual, but there is a couple of, again, in that case, for people to move up. As I mentioned, teachers' retirement system is another sometimes big driver. It's a big dollar amount, and that's projected to go up 5%. Transportation, half the time we contract out to Sunrise Bus. They contract amounts, they do go up the consumer price index. Right now that's set at 4.7%. Again, transportation we do have to watch too, because sometimes there is additional transportation runs that are not known or planned. And again, that's what calls for the 3% increase.
Okay, so this increase includes Sunrise's projected, what we think that they're going to want us to increase?
Correct. We project them to go up around 4.7%. And in the other parts of the transportation, again, I look at the budget each year, there's some flexibility, just like out-of-district tuition sometimes, or BOCES tuition. We can go to different locations, and those are additional runs. So sometimes as those out-of-district tuitions go up, transportation kind of goes hand in hand. Like we're actually now working with a family that needs transportation. Again, that wasn't planned in the beginning of the year. It just comes up. So overall, like I said, with the 4.7% on most of those budget lines, but then just lowering the other areas, so an overall increase of 3%. Makes sense? BOCES is relatively flat. Same with debt service. Still the same one bond, very low debt service for a district our size, which is, I think, it's a good thing. As Dr. Simonetti pointed out, out-of-district tuition, you try and plan for the worst, and you never know, what happens. We have a lower amount in that tuition line. Again, we just didn't see the need to have that amount in the budget. And again, those are big dollar amounts, and it's a big savings for the district. We have to definitely keep our eye on that line.
Does that include out-of-district tuition for other programs like one of our BOCES, UFSD?
So no, that includes.
Yes, what you see there in out-of-district tuition is transportation and tuition for the contingencies if we were to.
Okay, and what about like out-of-district placements, daily placements, like at BOCES, for not out there, but for students with special needs?
We have one student in a BOCES program right now.
Right, so that would be in that line, or would that be in the BOCES plus line?
It's really dealing with it's the, not BOCES programs to me, it's the residential programs that I think, as Dr. Simonetti pointed out, it's in the specific line. We had somebody in Mountain Lake and Hillcrest.
Your out-of-district
That's,
tuition line is simply that kind of out-of-district, correct?
yes. It could be other public schools, but yeah, generally speaking, it's residential. It's not BOCES. BOCES would be in the BOCES cost line, the BOCES tuition line.
Your special needs students that go to BOCES?
Yes. The equipment had a slight increase. It's more of a kind of I think I find administrators, and I agree with them, they try and put a little more money in the equipment. It gives you a little more flexibility. You're not allowed to transfer money, do a budget transfer into equipment line. So sometimes it pays to, put money in that line. You can move money out. But as I think Mr. Rush mentioned, equipment, certain departments just have needs, and that's what causing that line to increase. For other, it's a catch-all. It's all supplies, contractual. The big increase is as Mr. Drugo mentioned, the transfer to capital fund, the projects, that increased from 50,000 to 110,000, so that's 60,000 of the gain. It was just too many categories to mention in that, but again, that's the bulk of it. So for total, we're looking at a projected budget for next year of $32,205,000, an increase of $601,000 from the current budget, and it's a 1.9% increase. So this budget allows us, it stays within the tax cap, we're actually even a little under the cap, so that with the $32,205,000 budget, we're looking at a tax levy increase of 1.71%. As I mentioned, and we went over it with the revenues, probably mention again next time, it's just important to know that a big part of that, which is kind of a little deceiving to me, is the payment in lieu of taxes money, where the town contacted us and said, we're going to give you a check for pilot, but that means you have to lower less of a tax levy. So taxpayers will see, because of school taxes for us, they'll see a decrease. Normally it would have been probably like 2.4%. If that pilot money ever goes away and we need to put money back in the tax levy, you'll see a bump in that levy. But again, it's within the allowable tax cap. And that relates to, for the average house, if it's assessed at $7,000, you'll see a $9 a month increase next year, or $111 annually, based on the assessed valuation, assuming it stays the same. Any questions? What's our what?
Allowable,
Tax levy?
yeah.
I might have to check. I think it's 1.79 or 1.8%.
Oh,
We're,
really does not.
yeah, we're lower by 20-something thousand.
So your 1.71, that's assuming that we get the private money, that they are talking.
In other words, yes, well, right, because there's a separate,
It's going to go up.
No, because we got the pilot money in that amount this year, and we saved it to use next year.
Okay, we saved it.
So next year's pilot money that they tell us, if they don't give it to us, then we'll work that into next year's budget. But we're not, we're not
Gotcha.
going to
Right.
be behind the ball. So we already actually have that money in a check.
right. And again, it's very unusual from most pilot agreements, which we had years ago. It's typically a multi-year agreement. You know how much it is. This year is different. It's a court
We're okay.
order.
It's coming back.
Yes, but it's 180,000 or so and change that we're receiving.
We don't know if you're going to get it again when we're going into
Exactly.
next year's budget season.
Right.
and whatnot. Okay.
Tell us what will.
Right.
The fact is, I'm not comfortable,
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm not
Right.
comfortable spending it now and then we don't get it next
Gotcha,
year.
gotcha. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other questions? As I mentioned, the next budget meeting is April 13th. Like I said, I'll go a little more detail in the expense side, recap. The way the calendar was this year with board dates, usually we have a budget meeting, and then at the next board meeting, we adopt the budget, but because of, again, the dates, we're going to propose to have the board adopt the budget at the next April 13th meeting.
Is the state going to come down on time for the Jersey thing?
I'm sorry?
Well, the state, I know they're supposed to by law come down by April 1st.
Oh, right, the state with the,
Anticipating.
hopefully, yeah, if that goes, that would be nice.
It's been good the last couple of years.
They have to.
So,
Yeah, we mentioned, but again, it seems it's the state aid initial governor's proposal was very generous. But I agree, usually it does kind of give a bump up. We'll keep an eye on that and then go adjust accordingly.
Sorry.
thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Chuck, could you do me a favor?
Yes.
The next meeting, just give us a graph of what tax levy increases have been,
Oh, sure.
over the, because I know we had some years where things really got out of hand. And then I know lately they've been pretty,
Since the tax cap.
Right, oh, definitely.
And that.
2% isn't 2%.
No, no.
Right.
Just, you know.
Technical history.
There's districts, but this district's right around here.
Meaning they got to get 50%.
Some of them are within the capital funds.
Oh, really?
You know, there's a lot of things that you can add into your budget, raise your allowable tax cap. So it all depends on where it is. You guys have done an excellent, Southold for a number of years has done an excellent job of finances, so, you don't need to look at that type of stuff, some districts do.
All right. Good. Thank you.